She's only here because we pity her. That's what my mother announced, loudly, at my own birthday brunch, in front of my daughter, my brother, a room full of strangers. My throat locked, my hands shook. And then I saw it. Olivia, calm, focused. Her phone propped discreetly against a water glass, recording every word. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part? My mother had already contacted my boss, told them I was emotionally unstable. Tried to steal my job the same way she'd stolen my voice for years. She didn't know my daughter was documenting everything. And this time, we weren't staying silent. But before we begin, let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. My name is Rachel Whitmore, and I'm 35 years old. I teach 8th grade English at Pine Valley Middle School while raising my 13-year-old daughter Olivia in our small craftsman home. My mother Eleanor, the darling of local charity boards, perfected her public smile decades ago, but behind closed doors, her words always found ways to wound. The antique tea set she gave me sits untouched in my cabinet, a reminder of appearances I can't quite discard. At least my daughter and I have built something real. Homework at the kitchen table, weekend pancakes, honest conversations. Last week, when an embossed invitation arrived for my special birthday celebration, Olivia watched me read it, her eyes sharp and knowing. What my mother doesn't realize is that I'm not that scared little girl anymore. But let me start from the beginning. You know that moment when you walk into a room and instantly know something's wrong? That's how I felt stepping into Rosewood Gardens, the upscale restaurant my mother had chosen for my special birthday celebration. The knot in my stomach tightened as the maitre d' led us past intimate tables draped in crisp white linens. Have you ever watched yourself walk straight into a trap, knowing exactly what's coming but unable to stop it? That's what this felt like. The private dining room stretched before us, bathed in natural light from floor-to-ceiling windows. But something was missing. Everything, actually, that should mark a birthday celebration. No balloons bobbing against the ceiling, no wrapped presents stacked on a side table, not even a simple happy birthday banner. Instead, the space had been transformed into what looked like a corporate luncheon, complete with professionally printed place cards and, I squinted to make sure I was seeing this right, napkins monogrammed with Eleanor's legacy in sweeping gold script. My mother stood near the center of the room, holding court in her signature pearl gray suit, her platinum hair catching the light as she gestured to a group of rapt listeners. The familiar scent of her Chanel No. 5 perfume transported me back to childhood piano recitals, where that same perfectly poised smile masked her disappointment in my performance. "Mom," Olivia whispered, squeezing my hand, "we can still leave." I forced a smile, more for her benefit than mine. "It's fine, sweetie. Let's just get through this." My brother Marcus and his wife Claire were already seated, phones out and angled toward Eleanor as she posed with what looked like half the hospital board. A few distant cousins I barely recognized milled about, all seemingly more interested in networking than acknowledging the birthday girl. "Rachel, darling," Eleanor's voice carried across the room with practiced warmth. "Do take your seat. We've arranged everything perfectly." Of course she had. My place card was tucked in the corner, partially hidden behind an elaborate flower arrangement. Olivia's name was misspelled on hers, deliberately, I suspected, since Eleanor never made careless mistakes. I settled into my chair, smoothing the napkin across my lap. The gold thread caught the light, mocking me with its message. Eleanor's legacy. Not happy birthday, Rachel, or even a simple celebration. No, this was about her, as always. The waiters glided around us, filling water glasses and distributing menus bound in leather folders. Eleanor had pre-ordered for everyone. Another way to maintain control. I watched her work the room, touching shoulders here, laughing musically there, her audience hanging on every word. "Remember when birthdays meant actual cake?" I murmured to Olivia, who had pulled out her phone but kept it below table level. "And fun?" she added, her eyes never leaving the screen. A crystal ping rang out as Eleanor tapped her wine glass with a silver spoon. The conversations hushed. My stomach clenched as she rose, statuesque and commanding, her smile bright as a spotlight. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "I'm so pleased you could join us today." I gripped my water glass, condensation cool against my palm. The last time she'd given a speech about me was at my college graduation party, where she'd managed to turn my magna cum laude honors into a story about her superior parenting skills. Olivia's hand found mine under the table, steadying me. The gesture reminded me of all the times I'd done the same for her during thunderstorms when she was little. Now here she was, being my anchor. Eleanor raised her glass higher, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light. As I look around this room at all the dear friends who've supported our family's journey, our eyes met across the room, and in that split second, I saw it. That familiar glint that always preceded her most devastating comments. The one that said, "Watch this, dear. You know you can't stop me." The room waited, glasses raised, as Eleanor paused for effect. My daughter's grip tightened on my hand, and I realized she saw it too. Eleanor's perfectly manicured fingers curved around her wine glass as she surveyed the room. You know, watching Rachel grow up was quite the journey. She paused, letting her words hang in the air. So many interesting choices, so many opportunities for growth. My chest tightened. I knew that tone, the one that always preceded her most cutting remarks, wrapped in a veneer of maternal concern. I remember when she insisted on becoming a teacher. Eleanor's lips curved into what others might mistake for a fond smile. Of course, we had hoped for medical school like Brandon, but sometimes we must accept that our children have different capabilities. Brandon's smirk widened as he took a long sip of his mimosa. The familiar scent of fresh-baked croissants wafting from the brunch buffet suddenly turned my stomach. And now, here we are, Eleanor continued, her voice dripping with false warmth, celebrating another year of, well, she waved her hand dismissively. Though I must say, dear, I'm surprised you wanted a gathering at all. Everyone knows how you prefer to hide away in that tiny house of yours. A few nervous titters rippled through the room. I felt the heat creeping up my neck, that old familiar shame threatening to choke me. Beside me, Olivia shifted in her chair. But then, Eleanor's voice hardened ever so slightly, that's always been your way, hasn't it? Shrinking from proper society, embarrassing the family name with your modest lifestyle. She lifted her glass higher. So let me be honest, dear. Nobody wants you here. You're only here because we pity you. The words landed like slaps. 1, 2, 3. Each one sharper than the last. Silence fell, heavy and thick, broken only by a few scattered chuckles. Brandon's laugh cut the deepest. My own brother, finding humor in my humiliation. Our Aunt Catherine simply sipped her drink, examining her French manicure as if nothing unusual had happened. I sat frozen, my hands clenched in my lap. The room swam before me, and I was suddenly 8 years old again, standing in our marble foyer while Eleanor critiqued my posture in front of her garden club friends. But then I heard it, the soft tap of fingers on a phone screen. I glanced at Olivia, expecting to find her texting for escape like any normal teenager. Instead, her phone was propped against her water glass, its camera lens catching everything. Her eyes met mine, fierce and determined, before returning to the screen. Eleanor was still talking, something about rising above our circumstances, but the words blurred together. I pushed back my chair, the legs scraping against hardwood. "Excuse me?" I managed, my voice barely a whisper. No one tried to stop me as I fled the dining room. The hallway stretched endlessly before me until I finally found the guest bathroom, all chrome and marble, just like everything else in Eleanor's world. I locked the door with trembling fingers. The woman in the mirror looked like a stranger, pale and shaken. I gripped the marble counter, fighting back tears that threatened to spill over. A scream built in my throat, but I swallowed it down. I wouldn't give Eleanor the satisfaction of knowing she'd broken me. Not again. The bathroom's soft lighting cast gentle shadows, so different from the harsh spotlight I'd just escaped. A single orchid sat in a crystal vase, perfect and untouchable, just like Eleanor's carefully crafted image. My reflection stared back at me, and for a moment, I saw myself through my mother's eyes. The disappointment, the embarrassment, the living proof that her legacy wasn't as pristine as she pretended. But then I thought of Olivia out there, holding her phone steady, her young face set with a determination I didn't yet understand. My daughter, who'd never once believed Eleanor's sugar-coated venom, who saw through the performance to the truth beneath. I splashed cold water on my face, careful not to smudge my makeup. The familiar ritual of pulling myself together after one of Eleanor's attacks felt different this time, though I couldn't say why. Maybe it was the way Olivia had looked at me, not with pity but with something that looked almost like purpose. A soft knock at the door made me jump. "Mom?" Olivia's voice came through, quiet but steady. Are you okay? That evening, our house felt different, quieter somehow, like even the walls were holding their breath. I sat in my favorite armchair, still wearing the navy dress from brunch, though I'd kicked off my heels hours ago. The reading lamp cast a warm circle around me, but I couldn't focus on the book in my lap. Every time I tried, Eleanor's words echoed in my head. Nobody wants you here, dear. You know that hollow feeling you get after a good cry? When your chest feels empty but heavy at the same time? That's where I was, staring at nothing, when I heard Olivia's bedroom door creak open. She stood in the hallway, hesitating. My bright, beautiful girl who'd sat through that whole awful spectacle without saying a word. Who'd watched her grandmother tear into me like it was a sport. The guilt hit fresh. I should have protected her from that, should have known better than to go at all. Mom? Her voice was soft, careful, like she was approaching a wounded animal. Can I show you something? I managed a weak smile. Of course, honey. She patted across the carpet in her mismatched socks, one purple, one with pandas, and carefully placed her phone on the coffee table between us. The blue case was covered in stickers from her favorite bands, little pieces of her personality she wasn't afraid to show the world. I got it, she whispered, tapping the screen. The video started playing and my breath caught. There was Eleanor, crystal clear, wine glass raised high. The camera angle shifted. Olivia must have moved it several times during the speech, catching every pristine detail. The cruel twist of Eleanor's lips as she delivered her toast. The way Brandon smirked into his mimosa. The exact moment my face crumpled before I fled the room. Oh my God, I breathed. The quality was perfect, the audio crisp enough to catch every subtle dig, every backhanded compliment. Olivia, when did you... I've been recording her for months, she admitted, pulling her knees up to her chest. Every time we visit, every phone call on speaker. I knew no one would believe how she really is unless they saw it themselves. My throat tightened. All this time, while I'd been trying to shield her, she'd been quietly building a case. Protecting me. There's more, she said, swiping to another video. This one from Christmas. Eleanor's voice sharp as she critiqued my career choices. Another from Thanksgiving, comparing me unfavorably to Brandon. Old voicemails where her concern dripped with poison. I'm making a timeline, Olivia explained, her voice stronger now. With dates and everything, like those true crime documentaries we watch. Only this time, the villain doesn't get away with it. I stared at my daughter, this fierce young woman who'd seen through Eleanor's perfect facade years before I'd found the courage to admit the truth myself. The lamplight caught the determination in her eyes, reminding me of myself at her age, before Eleanor had ground that spark down to nothing. Sweetheart, I started, not even sure what to say. What do you tell your child when she hands you proof of your own mother's cruelty? When she's documented the very thing you've spent decades trying to pretend wasn't happening? Just wait, Olivia said firmly. I'm not done yet. I'm going to put it all together. Everything she's done, everything she's said, all of it. She reached for my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. You're not crazy, Mom. You never were. And now we can prove it. I squeezed her hand back, tears threatening again, but different tears this time. Not from shame or hurt, but from a fierce pride in this amazing person I'd somehow raised. Despite Eleanor, despite everything. When did you get so wise? I asked softly. She shrugged, a hint of her usual teenage self peeking through. Probably from all those books you make us read in English class. That startled a laugh out of me, small and watery, but real. Olivia smiled, then turned back to her phone, already focused on her self-appointed mission. Her fingers flew across the screen, arranging clips with the ease of her generation. I watched her work, this strange mix of emotions swirling in my chest. Part of me wanted to stop her, to protect her from Eleanor's inevitable reaction, but a stronger part recognized that my daughter had chosen this battle herself, with clear eyes and a brave heart. 3 days after the birthday disaster, I was grading papers in the staff room when Sarah Chen stopped by my desk. Her expression made my stomach clench. Hey, Rachel, are you okay? Like, really okay? I set down my red pen. What do you mean? She glanced around, then lowered her voice. There are just rumors going around about your emotional state. I wanted to check on you directly. The fluorescent lights suddenly felt too bright. Rumors? From who? I'm not sure, but Principal Delaney was asking some weird questions about your classroom management. Sarah squeezed my shoulder. I told her you're one of our best, of course. My hands started trembling. I mumbled some thanks to Sarah and gathered my things, mind racing. The walk to Principal Delaney's office felt endless. She looked up when I knocked. Rachel, come in. I was actually going to call you later today. I perched on the edge of the chair, fighting to keep my voice steady. Sarah mentioned there were concerns about me. Principal Delaney's face went carefully neutral. We received some concerning feedback about your emotional stability from a source who claims to know you well. The taste of copper filled my mouth. I knew. God, I knew exactly who it was. Would this source happen to be my mother? Her slight hesitation told me everything. I can't discuss the specifics, but the board takes these kinds of reports seriously. We'll need to review. My mother is lying. I cut in, my voice sharper than I'd intended. She's retaliating because I finally stood up to her abuse. Principal Delaney's expression softened slightly, but her words were measured. That's a serious accusation, Rachel. Do you have any evidence to support it? I opened my mouth, then closed it. What could I say? That my 13-year-old daughter had secret recordings? That wouldn't exactly help my case for stability. I'll file a formal complaint, I said instead. About the false report. She nodded, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. The district will need documentation, concrete proof of malicious intent. I barely remember leaving her office. The drive home was a blur. As soon as I got inside, I called Eleanor. She answered on the first ring, like she'd been waiting. Rachel, dear, is everything all right? Cut the act, I snapped. I know what you did. I'm sure I don't know what you mean. Her voice dripped honey. Though if you're calling about work troubles, perhaps this proves my point about your instability. My free hand clenched into a fist. You're trying to get me fired. I'm simply concerned about my grandchild being raised by someone so emotional. Teaching is such a stressful profession after all. Maybe this is for the best. The casual cruelty stole my breath. You won't get away with this. Oh, sweetheart. She actually laughed. I already have. Who will they believe? The respected community leader expressing genuine concern? Or the daughter who's clearly having a breakdown? I hung up, stumbled to the kitchen, slid down against the cabinets until I hit the floor. That's where Olivia found me 20 minutes later, silent tears streaming down my face. She dropped her backpack and knelt beside me. Mom, what happened? I told her everything between shaky breaths. The rumors, the principal's doubt, Eleanor's smug certainty that she'd won. Olivia's face hardened into something fierce and determined. She pulled out her phone, the one that had captured so much already. Want me to send it? I stared at the device. Everything was there. Every cruel word, every manipulative moment, proof. But using it meant war. Eleanor would never forgive this exposure. Never stop retaliating. Olivia waited, patient but resolute. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about both of us breaking free. I took a deep breath, looked at my daughter, so much braver than I'd ever been at her age, and nodded. The next morning, my phone buzzed during third period. A text from Olivia. Took care of it. Love you. My stomach dropped. What had she done? I tried calling during my planning period, but it went straight to voicemail. By lunch, whispers were already circulating through the teacher's lounge. Principal Delaney looked shaken, Sarah mentioned, stirring her coffee. Like she'd seen a ghost. And that nice young lady who visited her? Your daughter, right? I nearly choked on my sandwich. Olivia was here? Walked right into her office, cool as could be. Sarah leaned in. Principal Delaney. She kept replaying something on her computer after that. Wouldn't tell anyone what it was. The afternoon dragged by in slow motion. Every time someone walked past my classroom, I flinched. When the final bell rang, my hands were trembling so badly I could barely pack up my things. Ms. Whitmore? Principal Delaney's secretary appeared in my doorway. Could you come to the office? The walk felt like a dream. Through the glass, I could see Principal Delaney on the phone, her expression grave. She waved me in, holding up one finger. Yes, I understand the severity, she was saying. We'll handle this internally for now. Yes, I agree. Thank you. She hung up and fixed me with an unreadable look. Your daughter visited me today. I swallowed hard. I heard. She showed me some disturbing footage. Principal Delaney tapped her mouse, and Eleanor's voice filled the room. Nobody wants you here, dear. You're only here because we pity you. My face burned. I can explain. There's more. She clicked again. Clips played rapid fire. Eleanor mocking my teaching career at Christmas dinner. Eleanor telling relatives I was unstable at a family reunion. Eleanor coaching my brother on what to say to the school board. The timestamp spanned 3 years, Principal Delaney said quietly. Your daughter's quite thorough with her documentation. I stared at my hands. I didn't put her up to this. I know. She leaned forward. Rachel, look at me. I forced myself to meet her eyes. The board is initiating an internal investigation into the complaint against you. Given this new evidence, you'll remain on active duty while they review everything. She paused. Off the record, your mother won't be welcome on school grounds again. Relief made me dizzy. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank your daughter. Principal Delaney's lips twitched. She walked in here like a tiny lawyer with an ironclad case. By the time I got home, my phone was lighting up with notifications. Apparently, someone had shared Olivia's video in a local parents group. The comments were passionate. I always knew something was off about Eleanor Whitmore. Remember when she tried to take over the PTA fundraiser? That poor teacher, her own daughter. I found Olivia curled up on the couch, doing homework like it was any other day. So, I said, sitting beside her, you paid Principal Delaney a visit. She looked up, chin set stubbornly. Someone had to do something. Honey, you didn't have to. Yes, I did. Her voice cracked. Grandma was trying to hurt you, again, and everyone just let her. She wiped her eyes roughly. I wasn't going to let her. I pulled her close, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo. When did you get so brave? Learned it from you. She snuggled closer. Even if you don't know it yet. My phone buzzed again. Another notification from the parents' group. I turned it face down, not ready to see how far the ripples were spreading. Tomorrow would bring what it brought. For now, I just held my daughter, marveling at how the quiet ones could sometimes roar the loudest. Have you ever watched a house of cards collapse? It starts with one tiny tremor, then whoosh. That's exactly what happened after Olivia's video hit the local parents group. I first noticed something was different when my phone started blowing up with friend requests from people I barely knew. Moms from other schools, former PTA members, even a few teachers who'd retired years ago. The video had jumped from group to group, each share adding new layers of comments. I worked with Eleanor on that charity auction last spring, one mom wrote. Now I understand why she kept accidentally leaving my name off the program. Remember when she told the whole board my daughter's learning disability was just bad parenting? Another chimed in. Karma's finally catching up. The stories poured out like water from a broken dam. My mother's carefully constructed image, 30 years of Eleanor the mentor mom, was dissolving post by post, but I kept my screen time to 10 minutes max. Any longer and I'd start drowning in the memories. Eleanor cornering me at graduation, Eleanor sabotaging my first teaching interview, Eleanor telling relatives I was too fragile to raise Olivia alone. You know that smell right before a thunderstorm? That's what those days felt like. Electric. Dangerous. Like anything could happen. I was grading papers one evening when my work email pinged. The subject line made me blink. Speaker request. District Professional Development Seminar. Dear Ms. Whitmore, it read, we would be honored if you would consider presenting at next month's seminar. The topic is Building Healthy Boundaries in Educational Environments. Your recent experiences have highlighted important issues our staff needs to address. My hands started shaking. Me, speaking at a district event? The same district that just weeks ago had been questioning my stability? The kitchen timer dinged. Mac and cheese night, Olivia's favorite. I found her setting the table, humming something under her breath. So, I said, trying to sound casual. The district wants me to give a talk about boundaries. She looked up, fork paused midair. Really? That's awesome. Is it? Because I'm kind of terrified. Mom. She put down the fork. Remember what you told me before my science fair presentation? Being scared means it matters. The memory hit me like a warm wave. Olivia at 11, practicing her solar system speech in front of the bathroom mirror. me holding up flashcards while she paced. Besides, she continued, serving herself a heaping portion, now people are actually listening. You should totally do it. I picked up my phone, staring at the email. What if I freeze up? What if you don't? She grinned. What if you're amazing? My finger hovered over the reply button. The old Rachel would have deleted it. The old Rachel would have found a polite excuse. But the old Rachel didn't have a fierce 13-year-old in her corner, teaching her how to roar. I hit reply and typed 2 words. I accept. The response came within minutes. They were thrilled. The seminar was in 3 weeks. They'd send details shortly. Later that night, I caught myself smiling at nothing while loading the dishwasher. For the first time in forever, my stomach wasn't tied in knots at the thought of public speaking. Instead, I felt lighter, like I'd been carrying around a heavy book of other people's opinions, and finally set it down. My phone buzzed, another notification from the parents' group. Apparently, Eleanor had been quietly removed from 3 different organization boards. Her speaking engagement at the county's Women in Leadership breakfast was postponed indefinitely. The comments section was a bonfire of similar stories. Events suddenly requiring new perspectives, committees being restructured, invitations mysteriously lost in the mail. Eleanor's carefully curated kingdom was crumbling, brick by brick. And I hadn't lifted a finger. I didn't have to. The truth, once unleashed, had done all the work for me. I closed the app and opened my laptop instead. If I was going to speak about boundaries, I had 35 years of material to sort through. Might as well start outlining. Need help? Olivia appeared in her pajamas, hair still damp from her shower. Always. I patted the couch beside me. But first, thank you. She curled up next to me, all gangly limbs and strawberry shampoo. For what? For being braver than I knew how to be. She shrugged, but I caught her small smile. That's what daughters are for. 2 weeks before the seminar, my phone lit up with a news alert. Local nonprofit leader steps down. There she was, Eleanor's profile photo, perfectly poised in pearls, beneath a headline about her pursuing other opportunities. By dinner, 2 more organizations had announced similar departures. You ever watch a house of cards collapse? It's mesmerizing. One card tips, then another, until the whole thing just dissolves. Did you see? Olivia asked, sliding her tablet across the kitchen counter. The screen showed Eleanor's social calendar, once packed with galas and fundraisers, now wiped clean through December. Even her weekly bridge club had temporarily suspended meetings. I stirred the pasta sauce, fighting a complicated mix of emotions. How are you feeling about all this? She shrugged, but her eyes were sharp. Karma's not always subtle, Mom. I had to laugh at that. My daughter, the tiny philosopher. The kitchen timer chimed, but before I could reach it, my phone started buzzing. Eleanor's name flashed on screen. I let it ring through to voicemail like I had every other time this week. Aren't you going to check it? Olivia asked. Later. I drained the pasta. Right now, I'd rather focus on dinner. And maybe those presentation slides you promised to help me with? Her face lit up. I found this perfect template, professional but not boring, and I thought we could use that quote you love, the one about silence. We spent the next hour at the dining table, laptops open, building my seminar presentation between bites of linguine. Olivia had strong opinions about font choices. Mom, nobody takes Comic Sans seriously, and transition effects. Less is more, trust me. The voicemail notification kept blinking, though. After Olivia went to bed, I finally pressed play. Rachel, darling. Eleanor's voice oozed artificial sweetness. I've been thinking about everything that's happened, and I want you to know. I only ever wanted what's best for you. Perhaps you're too close to see it, but everything I did was out of love. These rumors are getting out of hand, and a practiced sigh. Call me back when you're ready to be reasonable. Delete. Remember those old Viewmaster toys? Click through the slides, see a new picture? That's what the next week felt like. Click. Eleanor's book club reorganizing. Click. Her country club membership under review. Click. 3 speaking engagements canceled. I kept working on my presentation. Olivia kept tweaking the slides. We developed a routine. Homework first, then an hour of preparation, followed by hot chocolate and stupid cat videos to decompress. Some nights we barely mentioned Eleanor at all. What about this background? Olivia asked one evening, showing me a subtle gradient design. Professional enough for the district? Perfect, I squeezed her shoulder. You're getting pretty good at this. Well, yeah, she grinned. I learned from the best English teacher at Franklin Middle School. I'm the only English teacher you know at Franklin. Still counts. The night before the seminar, my email pinged. Subject line, let's talk. Sender, Eleanor Whitmore. Olivia, sprawled on the couch with her math homework, noticed my expression. Grandma again? Yep. I closed the laptop without opening the message. But I've got more important things to focus on. Want to run through the presentation one more time? She sat up, pushing her textbook aside. Only if you promise to do the hand gestures this time. Deal. I stood, smoothing my shirt. But first, thank you, Olivia, for everything. Mom, stop. You're going to make me cry before you even start presenting. Can't help it. I pulled her into a hug. I've got the world's best stage manager. We spent the rest of the evening rehearsing, fine-tuning transitions, and timing each section. The presentation was solid. More than solid. It was honest. Real. Everything Eleanor's carefully crafted speeches never were. When Olivia finally headed to bed, she paused in the doorway. Mom? You're going to crush it tomorrow. I looked at my daughter, this amazing, fierce, wise beyond her years girl, and felt something shift inside me, like a door finally closing on a room I'd been trying to leave for decades. Eleanor's email sat unopened in my inbox. Let it sit there. I had a seminar to prepare for, and a daughter to make proud. I arrived at the district office an hour early, clutching my presentation notes like a lifeline. The conference room slowly filled with faces I recognized from staff meetings and training sessions. A few colleagues waved. I managed weak smiles in return, my stomach doing Olympic-level gymnastics. Remember your first day teaching? That mix of terror and excitement like standing on the edge of a diving board? This felt exactly like that, minus the smell of fresh chalk and new notebooks that used to calm my nerves back then. Ms. Whitmore? A district coordinator approached, tablet in hand. Small change to the program. We're adding a brief introduction before your segment. Is that all right? Oh, sure. I nodded, distracted by a last-minute review of my slides. Whatever works best. The room was nearly full now. I recognized faces from other schools, even a few board members. My palms started sweating. I'd taught thousands of lessons, but this felt different. This wasn't about grammar or literature. This was about truth. The coordinator tapped the microphone. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we begin our professional development session on boundaries and workplace communication, we have a special introduction. I glanced up, half listening, and nearly dropped my notes. Olivia walked onto the small stage, straight-backed and serious in her favorite blue sweater. My heart stopped, then started again double time. When had they arranged this? Hi. Her voice was clear, steady. I'm Olivia Whitmore. Some of you might know my mom. She teaches English at Franklin Middle School. She paused, looking directly at me. But what you might not know is that she's also the bravest person I've ever met. The room went pin-drop quiet. I couldn't breathe. My mom taught me that silence can be two things, love or a weapon. She chose love. Every single day, every single lesson. Even when others tried to use silence to hurt her. Olivia's chin lifted slightly. I'm proud of my mom, and I'm proud to introduce her today. The applause started before she finished speaking. Through my blur of tears, I saw her small, fierce smile as she stepped down. Several people were nodding. One board member was dabbing her eyes. Somehow, I made it to the podium. Somehow, I found my voice. Thank you, Olivia. I took a deep breath. As educators, we talk a lot about creating safe spaces for our students. Today, I want to discuss what that really means and why it starts with us. The next 40 minutes flew by. I talked about professional boundaries, about recognizing manipulation, about the difference between criticism and cruelty. Every point landed, every example resonated. When I showed a slide about weapons of silence, ghosting, gaslighting, denial, I saw heads nodding throughout the room. During the Q&A, hands shot up everywhere. But it wasn't just questions. People started sharing their own stories. A music teacher described her controlling ex-husband. A guidance counselor admitted her struggles with an overbearing parent. This isn't just about education, I told them. It's about breaking cycles. It's about showing our students and ourselves what healthy boundaries look like. After the formal session ended, a steady stream of attendees approached to talk. Some just wanted to shake my hand. Others shared quiet thank yous and knowing looks. One vice principal hugged me, whispering, "I needed to hear this 20 years ago." The district superintendent pulled me aside as people were leaving. "Exceptional presentation, Rachel. We're developing a new position, Professional Development Coordinator for Social Emotional Learning. I'd love to discuss it with you next week." I was still processing that bombshell when my phone buzzed. Eleanor's unopened email from last night glowed on the screen. This time I clicked it. "Rachel, I'm disappointed by your recent behavior. This vindictive campaign against me is beneath you, though perhaps I shouldn't be surprised. You've always had a flair for dramatic overreaction. I raised you better than this. I'm willing to forgive your temporary lapse in judgment. After all, what kind of mother would I be if I didn't show grace? But this nonsense needs to stop. Your accusations are damaging not just me, but our entire family's reputation. Brandon is furious. The country club board is asking questions. I expect you to issue a public retraction by the end of the week. A simple misunderstanding, that's all anyone needs to know. I've drafted a statement for you. Recent social media posts have mischaracterized." I kept reading Eleanor's email, my hands starting to shake. "I've always supported your career choices, even when they fell short of our family's standards. Teaching is noble, I suppose, though you could have done so much more. Remember when you wanted to go to law school? I still have contacts there. It's not too late to salvage your reputation and make something of yourself. The school board situation was unfortunate, but necessary. I only mentioned my concerns about your emotional stability because I care. Surely you understand that. As a prominent donor and longtime advocate for education in this district, I had a responsibility to speak up. Let's handle this privately, as families should. I've already spoken with several board members about proper protocols for addressing parental concerns. They were quite receptive to my suggestions about streamlining the complaint process." My breath caught. There it was. Written proof she'd tried to manipulate the review process. I scrolled down. "I expect your full cooperation in resolving this unfortunate episode. After all, who would hire an educator with a history of emotional instability and family conflicts? Think of Olivia's future. Think of your position. With maternal concern, Eleanor." Remember those moments when everything suddenly clicks into place? When all the fog clears and you see exactly what needs to be done? Yeah, this was one of those. I opened my email, clicked forward, and added 2 addresses, the HR director and the district review board coordinator. In the subject line, I wrote, "Additional evidence, complaint, 2223-147. My message was simple. Please see below for documentation relevant to the ongoing investigation regarding attempted interference with district hiring and retention procedures. Note particularly the admission of prior contact with board members and implied threats regarding employment. Send. Done. Just like that. My hands were steady now. Isn't it strange how doing the right thing can feel so calm? Like putting down a weight you've carried so long you forgot it was there. That evening, I sat in my kitchen, our kitchen, mine and Olivia's, just breathing. The clock ticked softly. Outside, a few early crickets started their evening song. The same kitchen where I'd cried so many times, doubting myself, believing Eleanor's version of reality. But not anymore. You know that grief that comes not from losing something, but from realizing what you never had? That's what washed over me. All those years spent trying to earn love that should have been freely given. All that energy wasted on proving myself to someone who was never going to see me. A quiet shuffle of socks on tile made me look up. Olivia stood in the doorway, holding something. Without a word, she placed a small cupcake on the table, store-bought, slightly squished, with a single candle stuck slightly off-center. "Found it in the back of the freezer," she said, fishing a lighter from her pocket. "From your actual birthday." The flame caught, throwing warm light across our faces. In that gentle glow, I saw everything I needed to see. Strength, love, understanding beyond her years. "Mom?" Olivia's voice was soft. "The superintendent's assistant called while you were in the shower. Grandma's been officially barred from all district events and properties. Permanent ban." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. "Are you sad?" "No, honey." I reached for her hand. "I'm free." The candle flickered between us, casting dancing shadows on the wall. Shadows that looked nothing like the ones from my childhood. These were gentle, safe. My phone buzzed, probably another email from Eleanor. But I didn't reach for it. Instead, I watched the candle burn with my daughter's hand in mine, finally understanding that some silences aren't weapons at all. They're just peace. 2 weeks after Eleanor's email sealed her fate, I walked into my classroom and found a stack of thank you notes on my desk. Not from students, from other teachers. "You showed us how to stand up," one read. "Thank you for being brave," said another. I tucked them into my drawer, next to the official letter confirming my mother's permanent ban from district property. You know what freedom feels like? It's walking into a PTA meeting without your shoulders tensing. It's speaking up during staff discussions without scanning the room for judgment. It's knowing that when someone mentions Mrs. Whitmore at school, they mean me, the teacher, not the shadow of my mother's influence. The whispers changed too. Instead of Eleanor's disappointing daughter, I became the one who stood her ground. Funny how reputation works, isn't it? All those years trying to earn respect through silence, when speaking up was the key all along. But the real change? That happened at home. Olivia and I fell into new rhythms. No more tiptoeing around family events or bracing for Eleanor's surprise visits. Our weekends became truly ours. We started cooking together on Sunday afternoons. Nothing fancy, just simple recipes that filled the house with warmth. The kind of warmth I never felt in Eleanor's pristine kitchen, where appearances mattered more than comfort. "Mom?" Olivia asked one evening, up to her elbows in cookie dough. "Remember when we used to have to dress up just to eat dinner at Grandma's?" I laughed, really laughed. God, those awful Sunday roasts, where we couldn't even reach for the salt without permission. And the cloth napkins with her initials? Olivia rolled her eyes. So extra. That's when it hit me. We were talking about Eleanor without that old tension, without pain. She'd become just another story, not a weight we carried. Our conversations grew deeper, too. Olivia started sharing more about school, her friends, her dreams. Not just the surface stuff, but the real things. Her fears about high school next year. Her ideas for changing the world. The kind of talks I always wished I could have had with my own mother. Then came my actual birthday. Not Eleanor's production, but the real date. I'd gotten home late from a district curriculum meeting, my mind still buzzing with ideas. The house was quiet when I walked in. Too quiet. "Olivia?" I called out, dropping my keys in the bowl by the door. The one she'd made in art class last year, perfectly imperfect with its wobbly edges. "In the kitchen," she called back. I rounded the corner and stopped. There, on our scratched kitchen table, sat a single cupcake. Chocolate with vanilla frosting, slightly crooked with a bright blue candle stuck in the center. No fancy decorations, no audience, no performance. Olivia stood beside it, holding a lighter, grinning. "Happy actual birthday, Mom." My throat tightened. This was what I'd always wanted. Not the production, not the show, just love. Simple and true. "When did you—" "Got it from the bakery after school," she said, flicking the lighter. The flame caught, throwing warm light across her face. "I figured we should do it right this time." I sank into my chair, watching the candle flicker. All those birthday parties over the years, Eleanor's carefully orchestrated performances, each one designed to showcase her perfect motherhood. And here was my daughter, giving me the greatest gift, permission to just be. "You know what?" I said, reaching for her hand. "This is perfect." "Yeah?" Her eyes lit up brighter than the candle. "Absolutely." I squeezed her fingers. "Because it's real." She sat down beside me, both of us watching the tiny flame dance. No photographers, no audience, no script to follow. Just us, in our cozy kitchen, with its mismatched magnets and homework papers stuck to the fridge. I knew exactly what to say. I moved the cupcake to the kitchen counter, where the candle's glow cast dancing shadows on our faces. The flame steady, unwavering, just like us now. Olivia's hand stayed warm in mine, and for the first time in forever, my smile felt completely real. No hidden tension, no need to brace for the next critical comment or subtle dig. You know that moment when you realize you're finally free? It doesn't come with fireworks or dramatic music. It sneaks up on you in quiet moments like this one, between heartbeats, between breaths. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Probably another message from Eleanor. She'd been systematically stripped of everything she valued. Her speaking engagements canceled, her carefully cultivated mentor mom image in tatters, her influence at the school board not just gone but explicitly banned. The mighty Eleanor Whitmore, reduced to desperate texts and unanswered calls. Last week, she'd shown up at the school, trying to explain her side to the administration. Security had to escort her out. The video of that incident made its way around the teacher's lounge. Eleanor, perfectly coiffed hair slightly disheveled, demanding to speak to someone in charge. "Don't you know who I am?" she'd asked. The guard had simply replied, "Yes, ma'am. That's why you need to leave." I pulled out my phone, expecting another manipulation attempt. Sure enough, there it was. A novel-length message begging for forgiveness, claiming she'd reflected deeply and realized her mistakes. The same Eleanor playbook, just with different words. Remember those old birthday parties? How she'd make me wear scratchy dresses and recite prepared thank you speeches to her friends? The constant performance of perfect mother and grateful daughter? That memory used to sting. Now it just felt distant, like watching scenes from someone else's life. "Mom!" Olivia squeezed my hand. "You okay?" I looked at Eleanor's message one last time. All those carefully crafted words, designed to hook me back in, to make me doubt myself, to restart the cycle. Without hesitation, I deleted it. Never better, sweetheart. The weight that lifted in that moment, you can't imagine. Years of explanations I no longer needed to give. Apologies I no longer needed to make. Approval I no longer needed to seek. Olivia grinned, understanding exactly what I'd just done. She'd grown so much through all this. Not just taller, though that too. When did she start reaching my shoulder? But stronger, wiser. The kind of strength that comes from standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. The candle flickered, sending warm light across our faces. Outside, a car drove past, its headlights briefly illuminating the kitchen window. For a split second, I tensed. Old habits die hard. But it wasn't Eleanor. It would never be Eleanor again. My phone stayed silent in my pocket. No more messages, no more demands, no more performance, just us, just peace, just love. Olivia leaned in close, her voice barely above a whisper. "Make a wish." I closed my eyes, feeling Olivia's warmth beside me, and blew out the candle. One gentle breath. That's all it took. No drama, no audience holding their phones up to capture the moment, no Eleanor stage managing the whole thing from behind her wine glass. You want to know something funny? Oh. For years, I dreamed of grand moments of victory, telling Eleanor off in front of her country club friends, exposing her lies in some dramatic courtroom scene. But real freedom? It came in this quiet kitchen, with a grocery store cupcake and my daughter's hand in mine. The smoke from the extinguished candle curled up between us, carrying with it the scent of birthday wishes and possibilities. Remember when candle smoke used to fascinate you as a kid? How it would dance and twist before disappearing? That's what Eleanor's power over me had become. Just smoke, vanishing into thin air. "What did you wish for?" Olivia asked, her eyes bright in the dim kitchen light. I smiled, running my fingers through her hair. "You know the rules. Can't tell or it won't come true." But the truth was, I didn't need to wish for anything. Everything I wanted was right here in this moment. Peace, love, and the simple joy of being exactly who I am. The cupcake sat between us, a humble little thing with slightly smudged frosting. Nothing like the towering masterpieces Eleanor used to order for my childhood birthdays, those pristine confections that looked perfect in photos but tasted like cardboard and obligation. This one was chocolate with vanilla frosting, picked out by Olivia herself from the bakery section while we were grocery shopping. My phone stayed silent in my pocket. No buzzing, no desperate messages, no manipulative attempts to regain control. Eleanor's carefully constructed world had crumbled, not with a bang, but with the quiet click of send on an email forward to HR. Her legacy now amounted to empty speaking slots and politely declined invitations. You know what real power looks like? It's not the ability to hurt or control others. It's not perfectly arranged dinner parties or carefully curated social media posts. Real power is sitting here with my daughter, both of us whole and unafraid, sharing a slightly lopsided cupcake in our pajamas. The kitchen clock ticked softly in the background, marking each peaceful second. Through the window, I could see our reflection, mother and daughter, leaning close, smiling genuine smiles. No performance required, no masks necessary. "Mom?" Olivia's voice was thoughtful. Remember when Grandma used to say silence was golden? I nodded, feeling an old ache that had finally lost its sharp edges. She was wrong, wasn't she? The truth of it hit me square in the chest. All those years of swallowing words, of keeping quiet to keep the peace, they hadn't protected anyone. They'd just given Eleanor's poison more room to spread. Yeah, baby. She was wrong. Olivia picked up a napkin, carefully wiping a smudge of frosting from the counter. Respect starts when silence ends, she said, echoing the words from my seminar speech. And there it was. The perfect truth, spoken by my 13-year-old daughter with the wisdom of someone who'd learned it far younger than I had. Respect doesn't grow in silence. It grows in the light of spoken truth, in boundaries firmly drawn, in love that doesn't require performance or perfection. I broke the cupcake in half, sharing it with Olivia. The frosting was sweet, but not overwhelmingly so. Just right. Everything was just right. That old teacup I'd been so afraid of breaking? It wasn't valuable after all. It was just another prop in Eleanor's endless performance. And now that the show was over, I could finally stop pretending to cherish things that had only ever brought pain. Olivia licked frosting from her fingers, something that would have sent Eleanor into a lecture about proper manners. I watched her, this beautiful, brave girl who'd taught me more about strength than all Eleanor's life lessons ever had. This birthday belonged to me. No speeches, no photos, no carefully orchestrated moments designed to showcase someone else's importance. Just this, a mother and daughter, a chocolate cupcake, and the quiet triumph of being exactly who we are. I believe stories like this find us for a reason. If this one touched you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day, and tomorrow's might be the one your heart's been waiting for.